Hey everyone, it's CJ Fox, and I welcome you to a new model railroad review video. And today I am going to take a look at this Bachmann Spectrum HO scale USRA Light Santa Fe type, which this locomotive is also known as, the reason why it's called a Santa Fe type is that these locos were actually developed by the Santa Fe Railroad, and as Santa Fe had the most of these type of wheel configuration, which is if you can see right here, it has 2 wheels on the pilot, 10 driver wheels, and 2 trailing wheels, which is a 2-10-2. Now the USR lights are basically the light version of these, and unfortunately, Santa Fe in real life did not have any USRA light Santa Fe types, so that's kind of weird. Anyhow, with USR lights, as I said, that Santa Fe doesn't own any of these, but this particular one, this one that is modeled, is actually based on the Southern Railway, or an SS1 class. And you see, I bought this Bachmann Spectrum model used at my model railroad club, the Green Bay Area Model Railroader Club. They had this on the consignment shelf, and so I picked it up since it was cheap. And also, it was an undecorated model, so I got to choose basically a set of decals. And even though I should have, I know I'll probably get roasted in the comments, but I should have done my research on which railroads had the USRA Santa Fe types. But and I stupidly chose Actus and Topeka and Santa Fe, and I went with a 900 class. Ooh, excuse me. And with the Santa Fe 900 class, they went from 900 till 984. However, 985. But 986 here, well, doesn't exist. So basically what I've done with this undecorated model is I turned it into ATSF number 986, which is actually a fictitious locomotive. And as said, there is no actual photographs of number 986. But I will showcase a little photograph shown right here of the Southern Railway version of this locomotive, which I should have done. And I originally wanted to well, now that I think about it, I'll see if I can turn this into a Southern Railway example, as those were numbered from 5200 to 5249 with 50 units built. Sadly, all of them were, well, they were all scrapped from 1949 to 1952. But there is one USRA light that still exists, and it's let's see here. It's Duluth, Mississippi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, or Missabe. Duluth, Missabe, and Northern Railway number 506 is actually currently on display at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin, my hometown. And I think I've seen the locomotive, but it's been many years since I've been to the my tongue stops working. It's been many years since I've been to that museum. So hopefully someday I can go there and actually see number 506 in person, maybe take a picture or two. Anyhow, for any statistics or specs for the USR Light, is that these locomotives were actually built from 1918 to 1918 from the American Locomotive Company, Baldwin Locomotive Works. And let's see here. They were for the standard gauge railroad in the United States, which is 4 feet 8.5 inches. These had a driver diameter of 57 inches, wheelbase of 40 feet 4 inches, and an overall length without the tender is 52 feet 10 inches, which, believe it or not, that's actually the same dimension of the width of my house. So these were they were a good sized locomotive with a 10-foot 8-inch width and a height of 15 feet. And these locomotives had a combined weight with the locomotive and tender of 352,000 pounds. So these weren't exactly a lightweight by any means. And, well, that's just, excuse me, the 352,000 pounds, that's the locomotive itself. The tender is 188,000 pounds, 108,000 pounds when loaded, and with a combined total of 540,000 pounds as a total weight. The fuel type was soft coal, which is nicely depicted here in the tender. And these locomotives, from what I know, had only a top speed of about like 35 or 40 miles an hour, which is kind of pushing it. And these were mainly used for slow drag freight. Let's see. Also, these engines did have a traction effort of 69,000, nice, 69,600 foot-pounds of torque. Now let's take a look at some of the detail here. Now, if I bring the locomotive up close here, or better yet, I'll do this instead. Well, to showcase some of the detail, on the boiler plate, you see the headlight is centrally mounted, and there's a light piping that goes to the light bulb that's inside the smoke box. And it does come with Bachmann's not very good spring-loaded KD style couplers, but you can see right here the spring fell out, so I gotta get a new spring or just place a KD in here. And as you can tell with this model, it is used, so it is missing one of the marker lights right here, and this the coupler lever here is all pretty much all bent out of shape. And what do you expect? Anyhow, what kind of cool feature that this does sport up front is that the bell actually can swing. So that's a neat little feature right there. Now let's move over to further down the locomotive so you can see. For any side detail, you can see the eccentric crank, all the different connecting rods, the cylinders for the valve parts of the cylinder, and the actual cylinders right here, as these were a 2-cylinder model. And you can see right here, under magnification, it is clear to read the builder's plate, which I believe says American Locomotive Works, aka ALCO. And then you can see alongside the riveting on the nice riveting on the firebox, all the nice individually applied piping all along here. And I believe this is the, well, if you can comment below and know what exactly this component is right here, but I think that might be the air pump. Then you come up on top right here, you see all the various boilers, boiler domes right here. And you see that the whistle right here, that's another thing with this model, the dynamo came missing. So I wanted to find a new dynamo, but also the whistle is missing, which usually is mounted on this center dome right here, on the steam dome. But since I couldn't really glue it on there, and this is, forgot to mention, this is a die-cast metal boiler with a plastic cab and a die-cast chassis, so this locomotive is actually quite heavy. And you can see right here the paint actually wore off on the grab irons right here. So yeah, that goes to show that this is indeed made out of brass and metal. And the whistle, I did get that from my local hobby shop. Shout out to, even though I'm not sponsored, but shout out to Engine House Services over on Packland Avenue in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They have a great selection of not just locomotives, and they also have a good selection of parts as well. So I got this nice brass whistle here, and I know it's at an angle. That's just how the hole was but the dynamo is. And I'll see if I can find it, put a dynamo here, and yank the whistle out of here, and maybe try gluing it back to here on the steam dome. Now, as I go further down, you can see I did a pretty nice job with applying the decals on the tender and on the locomotive. And the hardest part with doing the decals is that, let me get this hair out of here. I did put a 986 inside here, and I had to cut up each individual digit and put it in there. And it took a few hours just to get the decals inside this little area where the number's supposed to go. And I did it, same for the other side. And as for the tender, the coal load is nicely done, though It is a little dusty and could use a nice dusting. And the decal here, I see it's bubbling a little bit right here. But that is due to a major mistake that I've done during the decaling process. You see, I originally numbered this locomotive to be 968, which was a real Santa Fe type for the Santa Fe Railroad. But since this was a USRA Light, that was before I realized this was a USRA Light. But anyhow, due to the with the mistake, I put it on here, put 968 on here, perfectly fine. But then I tried to seal it in with a glassy coat, just to seal it in. But turns out that spray does not work with decals. So these decals just they just smeared and they fell off. It was very, very messy. You can still see some of the residue from that spray on the tender here. So I had to renumber it to 986, and there is still a little air bubbling as I tried to reseal it again as 986, but apparently I didn't learn from my mistake the first time, so I stupidly sprayed it again, and then I had to renumber again. So then, yeah, you get the point. Learned my mistake there. Also, I did put 986 back on the back here, and this does have same as the front, same couplers as on the front, and grab irons here, those are intact, and same in the back. So basically the tender was intact other than some the aforementioned front end damage. And right here, that's the water hatch. So basically water filled up the whole back end of the tender. Got some nice riveting detail. Then you see the wires for the DCC system, which I will showcase later when I put this locomotive on the layout. And when I bought this locomotive, I thought that since it was undecorated, I thought this was DCC ready, but turns out the previous owner did put in a DCC decoder with sound, by the way. So that would be a nice, that's a nice addition. Okay, I think these might be actually the air pumps. But let me know down below, what exactly are these components on the locomotive? I'm still learning about locomotive terminology and all that. Then you got more plumbing alongside the firebox and underneath the cab. Then you got all the exact same, the cranks and the connecting rods. Loader plate, and you can see where the whistle originally was. And you can see with some glue residue that I had on there when I tried to glue this onto there. But since this was metal, I, at the time, did not have any metal to plastic or metal to metal adhesives. So yeah, now with all that detail out of the way, I'll tell you a little bit about this locomotive's performance. Now, this locomotive does perform pretty well thanks to its die-cast metal boiler and chassis construction. But it can pull about, on a flat surface or a flat grade, it can pull about maybe about 14 to 15 cars overall. So with that being said, let's take this over to my layout, which I'll give you a little surprise of an update that I've done to it. So with that being said, let's take this over to the track and see how it sounds and how it performs. Before I show the locomotive, here's that little update that I mentioned. And last week, I managed to score myself this DCS 50, this DCC starter set. So this is it is an older model, but it is absolutely perfect to run my 10 by 4 foot layout. And I'm finally happy that I no longer have to rely on running my DCC only locomotives on the club layout, so now I can do it at home. And on top of that, this DCC system also has a programming mode, so now I no longer have to rely on the programming track at the club. So that would save me plenty of time and, yes, and plenty of money on gas from traveling back and forth for about, I think it's like a 20-something mile trip just to get to the club and 20 miles back. So yeah, it's an absolute relief to finally have my own DCC system for my layout. Anyhow, let's showcase the locomotive up on the track. All right, I have number 986 up on my layout, and I have it currently on my my little siding here that leads to my lumberyard / harbor, which is also a recent addition to my layout that I made a few weeks back. Anyhow, let's let's turn on the track power. Now you can hear the air pump going. Now, to punch in the number of the address, so I go loco, type in 986 on the controller, and press loco again to lock it in. And you hear that chunk. That means it's synced. So let's turn on the headlight, which is F0. There's no dynamo spool up, unfortunately. And so let's do function number 1, which is the bell. F2 is the whistle, and this whistle it's fantastic, and also I forget to mention, this locomotive does have wow sound, and the wow sound systems, from what I heard, are fantastic, and thankfully this locomotive is nicely equipped with one. So F2 is the whistle. Oh, I love that. It's a nice deep throaty whistle. F3 is the short whistle. So you can do a crossing sequence with this locomotive. Oops, I accidentally pressed the bell. And F4 is the steam release, which before you start going, you want to use the steam release to start accelerating. F5, I believe, doesn't do anything. F7 does the water hatch. F8 mutes the sound. F9, I don't think F9 does anything. Anyhow, let's get this locomotive all steamed up, and I have a nice switching yard now on my layout. So let's gather my train together and run it along the track. Before I back up into the yard, I do want to point out that this locomotive not only has a front light, but the reversing light also turns on. So let's flip the switch here. Alright, and let's go back into the yard. Now the first cars that I am going to pick up are going to be these cars in this lot right here, which I have the switches aligned for that. And yes, this locomotive can handle, usually it's good for 22-inch curves, but I managed to get this on 18-inch curves. Yee! Yeah, this does have a good amount of brake squeal. So let's get all this hooked up here. Yep. And there's another thing about this locomotive. It does not like dirty track one bit. Now I have the track set up for the cars down the middle branch. Switch to forward. Apparently I might have a dirty spot on my track, that's why I cut out there. Now for the last bit of cars. You see these last box cars that I'm picking up? They are at my redistribution. I can never say that word right. Redistribution center. So let's hook these up. Last but not the least, let's pick up the caboose. I don't have any Santa Fe cabooses yet, but this Milwaukee Road caboose would do. Now that the train's all together, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the view of the train running by. Well, that pretty much sums up this review for my Bachmann Spectrum HO scale USRA Santa Fe type locomotive. And I hope to make more of these more videos in the future. And I'm so happy to say that this is the first video that I have reviewed a DCC with sound steam locomotive, and there's many more in my collection that I have yet to review, including a new one that I recently purchased at the Mad City train show in Madison, Wisconsin. Now this show, I'll tell you all about it and more when I make a model review video of the locomotive that I purchased from the show. So this has been CJ Fox. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and if you like these videos, feel free to like, comment, or maybe subscribe. It will help my channel tremendously. So I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.
Check it.